They said you were the best in the Parsec.
Welcome to
Parsec Passion, a podcast about Cassian Andor. Andor Season 2, Episodes 1, 2, and 3 on Disney+. My name's Bubba, and with me, as always, is someone who looks like Edie was imagining Dedra looked like. It's Catfish!
Oh, Bubba. Look, I know you're nervous because you're finally podcasting with a real rebel. Live your truth, Bubba. Live your truth. Catfish will show you the way.
Heck yeah. Now, if listeners, you love Andor, and spoiler alert for my rating, I love Andor. We love Andor, and we're going to be diving deep into these 3 episodes. Once again, episode 1 of season 2, 1 year later. 2, Sagrona Teema. 3, Harvest. And we're going to break down this episode. We're going to talk long about it because we love it, and we know you love it. We want your feedback to our ratings. And right now at the top, Catfish, we're rating 3 episodes. What are you going to give episodes 1, 2, and 3 of season 2?
Holy cow, Bubba. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10, what I like to call double D's, double M's.
Double D's, double M's?
Delicious Dedra's mother-in-law mauling.
Come on, Dedra, how could you? She could be your mother-in-law.
Oh, man. Only if Dedra allows her to show up to the service. Dedra bringing it hard. You know, I had assumed that for some crazy reason, Disney had decided to burn this series off. I don't know. I didn't know why they were doing, last year we had mostly they were 3 episode arcs. It was a little off on that, but I wonder now if it was Tony Gilroy who decided this, because I'm curious how this podcast would have been different, how we would have reacted to each individual episode had we gotten them separately. I don't think they would have played as well. I loved the way the first episode started. It did feel to me like we spent a little too much time with Bix on the planet and the farmers, and we spent even way more too much time on the idiot rebels. I mean, maybe, Bubba, and maybe it's my fault my fault or your fault. No, I'm going to make it your fault because we try to do this podcast as soon as possible. So I'm like, my God, I have to watch 3-hour-long episodes. Now, when you break it down, there's 3 minutes of previously on and 6 minutes of credits. So there's almost 10 minutes out of each episode. But still, I was like, I got to read this. So perhaps I did not enjoy the 3-minute Gorman tourist video as much as I should have. So to me, what a great beginning. There was a lot of everything. They're really filling in even the wedding. We got a lot of the sense of the world, which is great, but some things just went a little too long for me. So that's why I gave it an 8 out of 10. But who cares what I think, except for me and all the Catfish fans. Bubba, your smaller group of fans, they want to hear what you think. So Bubba, what did you give this first arc of season 2? What did you give the word rating for?
Catfish. I'm going to give this first arc of season 2, I'm going to give it 10 out of 10 heroic double Bs.
Heroic double Bs?
Heroic double Bs. Well, as you know, sometimes you got to take a bed break. That's where you go to your bed and you lie face down, taking a break so that your lady can insult your mom. Syril took a heroic bed break while Dedra dressed down Edie. Let me say, this comes out where I live Tuesday. I had a real crazy day at work on Tuesday. I get home. All the early reviews said these first 3 episodes, this first arc is kind of the weakest of season 2. So I'm kind of going into it being, boy, I hope it's as good as it should be. Immediately. I mean, immediately. I'm back in. I want to have lunch with those farmers. I want to have an early dinner with Syril, Dedra, and Edie. I want to get drunk with Mon Mothma at Leida's wedding, man. I am in. I am in 10 out of 10. As soon as these episodes were over, it is, it's pretty late at night, but I'm like, I wonder if I could watch them all again right now. And I started to, I couldn't, I stayed up till 1. I do have to go to work. I am Team Dedril, which means I love Syril and Dedra together. Man, I am heartbroken.
Yeah,
You
by what?
you watch season 1.
Yeah,
There season 1 is all about Cassian. He goes to, rob the Imperial credits. He
yeah,
goes to prison. He does all these things.
right.
The season 1 finale, it's built around who? Brasso. Brasso taking a brick and smashing these Imperials. I loved Brasso. If he was the heart of that season finale, which seems crazy because Brasso's barely in season 1, but he was the heart. And this way, you were like, how are you going to keep Brasso down on the farm? You kill him. It was heartbreaking, but 10 out of 10, I am all in.
Brasso,
I
he
loved it.
gone. Bubba, there's only one thing I disagree with you in
Oh,
your
one thing. Okay, let's
entire
hear it.
spiel.
Okay.
And that is, I don't believe Syril was face down. I believe he was in the fetal position.
Of course. That was brave of him to do that. He's the best. The best.
All right, Bubba. Well, look,
Yeah.
listen, we got a lot
Yeah.
to get through.
We do.
So we've got something that we like to call the double Q.
Double Qs?
Yeah, quick questions.
Oh, okay. Well,
So, Bubba, let's hit a few of these questions so that we can delight, entertain, and inform our listeners before we share with them as we sit by the fire, the two of us, and talk to our dozens of listeners virtually. So, Bubba,
yeah.
we covered season 1 in 2022.
Wow.
Now,
Wow.
before we get into season 2, remind us how you felt about season 1. What did you think, Bubba?
Well, this might be a comical repeat.
Mhm.
We did a podcast on the first 3 episodes because they dropped 3 in season 1 at the first time too. And I gave that 10 out of 10. Now I got tougher as the season went on, but this is
Mhm.
comical. But I loved the first season. I've gone back. And what's funny is I listen to some of our podcasts. I'm like, boy, I was a little tough here, a little tough here. Why? Because in the 2.5 years since that first season ran, I have gone back and watched that Marva funeral procession and her speech and
Oh,
Brasco's hitting people with bricks. I think I've watched it a dozen times just because I love that section so much. So I was a huge fan of season 1. How about you? Remind the listeners what you thought of Andor season 1.
not only is it my favorite of the Disney Star Wars shows, it is to me the most complex and adult storytelling next to Rogue One, which again is not a surprise since Tony Gilroy was behind that as well. I love The Mandalorian. That's more fun. I love this show too. And in fact, until Severance came along, I was like, this is like I think the best show of the last, few years ever since, you know, uh the Game of Thrones next to last season.
Yeah, listeners, we covered Severance. Severance season 2. Be sure to check out our podcast for that. Hey, Catfish, I got a quick question for you.
Let's have it.
Based on these episodes of season 2,
Mhm.
who's going to have a more painful next 48 hours after the episode ends? Is it going to be Tay or is it going to be Leida's new husband, Stekan? Which of these two characters, Tay or Stekan, is going to have the worst 48 hours after episode 3 ends? Ooh.
I think Tay's like first 6 hours will be more painful,
Yeah.
but then he would not want to exchange positions with Stekan
Wait,
after
what?
48 hours.
Wait, Catfish, how can you be so mean? We can all imagine. In fact, this question, I have to answer it myself. Tay's going to get 48 more hours. Hey, Tay better enjoy the next half hour. The ride home is what I say. Enjoy that, Tay, buddy. But I will give it up to Stekan, boy, because the next 48 hours are just going to remind him of the next 48 years. Oh, poor Stekan.
Oh boy, you better hold her hand, buddy, and hold on for
yes.
dear life.
Grow up, Stekan. Hold the girl's hand. Goodness gracious.
Oh boy. All right, Bubba.
Yeah,
Well, listen,
yeah.
we like to be a very proper, decent and child-friendly podcast. So we have decided every week we are gonna do an Andor FMK. So
Uh-oh.
Bubba,
Yeah,
every week it's gonna be something different. This is
sure.
exciting. This week it's gonna be an FMK from Leida's wedding guests.
Oh, latest wedding. Oh boy, here we go.
Leida's
Okay,
wedding, from Leida's wedding, Bubba.
sure. Oh boy, this is tough. So, okay,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to go ahead and marry Rune Skalden. And you're like, who's that? That's the that's the groom's mom. She was the one feeding Mon Mothma drinks there at the end. She seemed like she had a healthy attitude, wanted to party. So sure, why not
She's
marry?
certainly got a healthy head of hair.
That's yeah, much taller than mine. And so yeah, I'm going to marry her. I
Okay.
am going to F Mon, and you like F Mon, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to give her the she has such a rough life. I'm going to give her like 7.5 minutes of pleasure, and so
Wow.
and then kill. This is so tragic. But when Leida said, Mom, I wish you were drunk. Oh, my Lord. My hatred went through the roof. So that's
Mm.
my FMK. Kaying 15-year-old women who are getting married may not seem very good, but you guys watch that episode. Leida. Leida gets it. All right, Catfish, we are being very offensive and very silly. Hopefully, people understand, take this in the silliness that it's intended. Do you have an FMK for Leida's wedding party?
Well, Bubba,
Yeah.
I thought about this for a couple minutes and I thought, there's a way that I can not only enjoy this, but it's really going to set me up for the future. So
Oh,
this is
okay.
what I thought.
Here we go.
I'm going to marry Leida.
She's 15.
She's of marrying age. I'm gonna
Okay.
F Mon.
Oh, okay.
We're on that.
Sure.
And you know what? I'm gonna say, unlike you,
Unlike
I'm
me.
gonna give her like 2.5 minutes of pleasure and then 10 minutes of boredom.
Oh.
And then I'm gonna kill Perrin.
Wait.
Now think about it. Boom. Now I have an original statue and I am the man of the palace. Look at
Oh
me.
my
Look how I'm
goodness.
taking over.
My goodness. I was gonna say, what's Mon gonna enjoy more, the F or the K from Catfish? When we break
Definitely the K.
now,
That's
when we
like,
break
look,
down the episode, I'm gonna try to defend my boy Perrin, who I hated at the beginning of season one. I grew to love the ridiculousness. Do you have a comment about your own FMK or mine, Catfish?
and I'm just going to say, when you were offended that I married Leida, that doesn't mean I have to do anything. And it
That's
especially
true.
means that I really don't even want to interact with her at all.
Long distance marriage.
Yes.
Okay, now the Parsec Passion podcast is
Hmm.
covering all Star Wars TV shows. So look in
All of
your
them.
audience.
We have not missed a single one.
We did, Catfish. We missed
Oh.
Skeleton Crew, and this makes me feel
Oh.
so guilty. So I thought we'd do a quick question on just to give our thoughts on Skeleton Crew and why we didn't cover it. So I'll go first. Let me say, Skeleton Crew, it is not Andor in the slightest, but what it is, it's a great, fun show for your tweens, for kids of all ages. I'm not, believe it or not, I'm not a tween, but I thought it was fun. It came out in December of 2024, and at that time we had family members in the hospital. We were kind of going through a lot of stuff, so we didn't podcast on Skeleton Crew. I feel bad if somehow you missed it and you kind of have you're in the mood for a light, fun adventure. Skeleton Crew is pretty good. What did you think of Skeleton Crew, Catfish?
Well, Bubba, my thoughts are incredibly similar to yours, and this is no ding to it. This is a perfect tonal and plot wise opposite of Andor, and that was a great, simple, fun series for kids,
Yeah,
excepting the planet France escapade that planet.
yeah,
Um,
that was tough. Yeah,
and I think that Disney should keep telling different stories in this universe with different tones, different genres. I thought it was the perfect, like, okay, Andor, we're going to have a complex, serious show for adults. And I thought Skeleton Crew was the same quality of show that you would have for young kids. I don't know if we'd covered it what we could have covered. I mean,
Right. We
this
would have
is
just said,
no,
boy, this is fun. Like every
yeah,
episode, we'd be like, oh, this was fun.
it's no knock to it because what it was, I thought for what they were trying to do, they did a great job at it.
Heck yeah. Now, we do have one final segment before we dive into this episode, and that's all throughout season one. I was obsessed that Cassian was looking for his sister from Canary.
Are you sure?
Well, I guess for half an episode he looked for his sister. So I thought, ooh, I bet his sister is somewhere in the show. So we had a segment in our first season of podcasting on Andor where we were like, this is Cassian's sister of the week. And then it became, okay, she's probably none of these characters. Is she possibly somewhere in the background? Where is Cassian's sister of the week? So we're going to continue it this season, which seems silly. But Catfish, in these 3 episodes, any idea where the blank Cassian's sister is this week?
You know what? Since we've got another weekly thing that's got a musical accompaniment to it. I'm going to call this segment "Where in the Galaxy is Cassian's Sister?"
Any idea where, Catfish? Where?
Bubba, I think we got a very important clue.
Ooh,
okay.
What?
Now, sometimes you think, oh, we're just being introduced to a character and we're going to get caught up on it with him. And when we first saw Syril was explaining to a new hire how important it was to just be a pain in the ass to get out of this crappy job. And so you might have thought, well, this is just an interesting story and catching up. But no, the truth is that Cassian's sister was one of the people caught up in Cyril's fuel expose.
Oh no! Oh
yeah.
She's in jail.
She's in jail for swindling fuel. That's my just supposition, Bubba. I'm reading way between the lines. Where do you think she is based on this 3 set of episodes?
Well, I think what was creepy is we saw her in kind of the first scene. She's that Imperial in the distance who walks up and talks to the other Imperial and says, hey, that guy's cute. So we have a little House of the Dragon type incest. There she was. He works for the rebels. His sister works for the Imperials. Family drama.
All right. Well, not as much family drama as on the first episode of North of North, but there we go. That's just another.
Oh, here we go.
All right, Bubba. Hey. Listen. We do all kinds of podcasts. Like we said, we did every single Star Wars show on Disney ever, except for Skeleton Crew. And we do a bunch of others. We do so many. We did on Severance. We do Wheel of Time. We do so many. Only Murders in the Building. Silo. Basically, if there's a show that you like, we're doing a podcast on it. And if you think it's only so-so, we're doing a podcast on it. So check the Double P feed everywhere on YouTube, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, TikTok. Ask your mother.
Ask Edie. She knows
Ask
about us.
Edie. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Please tweet at us. Please give us feedback for anybody who may be new to this show. We love to read your feedback. The best part of this show, believe me, and we may not have much this episode, but believe me, if this is the first time you're listening, go to the very end and listen to the very best part of this show, which is what our listeners have to say about this show.
Heck yeah. Catfish, they're kind of 4 big storylines. We've got Andor's adventure. We've got the Ferrix friends farming. We've got Leida's wedding. And of course, we've got the Empire Escapades. Which of these 4 do you want to tackle as we dive into these 3 episodes?
Well, Bubba, you know what? I always like to eat my broccoli first before I go on to the best parts. So since I was not as enamored of the farmers as you were.
Sure. 3 of our heroes from the end of season 1 from Ferrix, they're living on a farm, this planet Minu Rao. And we've got Wilmon. He's the one who made the bomb and threw the bomb there to really get the party started in the season 1 finale because, of course, the Empire killed his dad. We've got that lovable droid B2 who we love so much that Andor's just going to leave it behind on the farm. What's going on? We've got my boy Brazos, but we're going to start off with Bix literally still being haunted in her dreams from that torture that she suffered at the end of season 1 from this character named Dr. Gorst. So she's dreaming about Dr. Gorst coming in and getting her, Catfish.
That's just how Mon's gonna dream about you, Bubba.
How dare you? Now, so Catfish, you're on the run. You can fix things. We know Bix was a fixer. We know that Brazos worked there with the gloves in the scrap yards of Ferrix. So now they're out. They're not amongst their people anymore. These guys probably, you would imagine, spent their whole life on Ferrix. Now they're living, instead of in a grimy but comfortable Ferrix, they're living kind of in the flyover planets of Mino Rau. Were you happy to see them? Do you have the love that I have for Brazos, or do Bix or bomb throwing Willman light your fancy more, Catfish? What do you think?
Bubba, unlike you, I haven't taken up my idle hours in the last 3 years rewatching these episodes. So, I don't have the emotional connection that you have to these people, except for, of course, Bix, because once again, she was on one of our favorite shows, Emerald City, and she is not chaff.
That is a deep cut there. Now, we see Brazos has got a lady. Wilmon is flirting, or more likely, this girl Bila is flirting with him. And Bila and Willman, they know that these Imperials are doing a spot check. This is the ICE agents, if you're here in the United States, checking people for your papers. And Bila says, promise me you won't leave without saying goodbye. Willman does say promise. I'm not sure he obeys that at the end of the episode. Catfish, even if you're only attached to Bix, and probably B2 as well, one thing we can say for sure is this Imperial agent is creepy as hell. I mean,
well,
dear Lord. Oh my Lord.
First, let me say this. I completely disagree with you that he didn't keep his promise, because that's why he wasn't with them.
That's true. Okay.
When they were like getting ready to leave, because he was spending time whispering sweet nothings when, as you said, he could have used that 7.5 minutes in a much better fashion.
Yeah.
Totally creepy. And he's completely right, though. The horrible thing about this is that this, he mistakenly he says the truth, which is like, yeah, I mean, we need these people to do jobs that other people don't want to do for crap money, and they've got it being held over their head.
Oh yeah. Oh my, I'm so tense.
I'm so tense because of the situation. I'm so tense. And she does help him relax.
He's got a forever sleep, that's for sure.
Like, he's a lot less tense when she's done with him. I'll say that.
I mean, he's, how sometimes you're like, I really can't turn my neck the whole way. She took care of that for him real good.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Now I want to point out that one of the quote unquote legal farmers, you would say there, the lead farmer there, Kellen, he says to Brazos one time, he's like, listen, I want you to tell Cassian's friend, the big boss, excuse me, what's going on here. So even this guy who seemingly has a stable life, he's sick of the Empire too. So this is a symbol that by this point, they've been suffering under the Emperor theoretically about 16 years, and people are sick of it, Catfish. Everybody is tense. This is not going to stand.
Well, Bubba, all I can tell you from personal experience that it doesn't take 16 years to make you feel oppressed and depressed about your government. It only takes you 6 weeks,
Yeah,
6 weeks max. And Brazos does say to him, though, he's like, you know what? I can tell him, but it's the same everywhere. So
great point. Great point.
Don't feel like you're getting especially squished here.
Okay, now, I joked about it, but the heroes they know they're leaving. They think Cassian's going to show up. They're like, where's Cassian? He's supposed to be here. We'll get to Cassian's adventure in a bit. But they kind of preemptively say, B2 Emo, you're going to stay here with Talia, which is the lady that Brazos had been spending quality time with. And Catfish, the one thing that almost all Star Wars shows can do is a great droid. And this is depressing, man. Saying goodbye to B2. He's another heart of season 1 like Brazos. and it's possible. Do you think we're ever going to see him again?
Well, the one thing I will say is they have definitely correctly named this robot because the B2 is very emo.
Oh yeah, you ain't kidding. You are not kidding.
He is a whiner. I think we'll see B2 emo again.
I hope so. Well, all right. I guess the big thing we have to talk about is the creepy guy's return. His creepy not taking no for an answer with Bix, and Bix taking him out and relaxing him, and then Cassian coming and rescuing. Number one, this is one thing that people are talking about. This is a Star Wars show, and he was going to, sexually assault her. It was his goal. Is this, we talk about this being the adult show. Is this too much for you, Catfish, or were you able to roll with this hideous, terrible dude?
Yes, and only for two reasons. It A didn't last very long, and
True.
B didn't go too far before before C completely handed him his lunch. So yes, it was an adult situation, but it didn't escalate any further than it needed to for us to feel like, oh God, there's danger. And then almost immediately, she was no longer in danger. So yes, I just think because they didn't gild the lily on it, I think it was okay.
And then it's very early in the episode. Cassian has already kind of blown up a lot of things. But what did you think of him coming to town? There's the classic saying, shoot first, ask questions later. Is that the saying?
That is.
Cassian, he was shooting so he would never have to ask questions. He just
Right.
came
There was
in.
nobody left to ask questions to.
Right. He came in and I loved it. I thought this is wonderful. Like he does a drive-by of the Imperial cruiser with all the guys in the back pickup part of it. And then pretty much just turns around and says, "Hey guys, say hello to my little vessel." That blows him up. Hell, he's even like, you know what? It's too hard to shoot these stormtroopers one by one with lasers. Let's just drop a damn grain of silo on them. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it.
Well,
Loved
I'll
it.
just say, whatever experimental test spaceship this is,
Yeah.
it is really it's able to sustain a lot of crash damage. It's
Yes.
able to sustain a lot of small arms fire. I mean, this is a very, very strong piece of machinery. And obviously, with a piece of machinery like this, you'll never be defeated.
Any prediction where you see, I mean, admittedly, there's almost no way to predict, but now that Cassian is, how about this? Cassian is obviously part of Luthen's rebel gang. Does
Right.
this mean Bix and Wilmon are just going to join the team? It feels like they were not part of the team. They were on this planet, on their own doing whatever. Are they now officially part of the team? What do you think?
I mean, I think they're already in on it, but this was like a one-person job to like
Yeah.
sneak
Okay.
in and get this thing. So they all expected him to come back. They were the ones who were transmitting back to Luthen's assistant. So I think they were already part of the team. It's just that we came in where he had to be on a solo mission.
Okay, Catfish. Hey, where do you want to go next? We've covered the farm. Where do you want to see next in our episode breakdown?
Oh boy, this is tough because all the rest of these are so good. But let's go to the wedding since it's not as consequential.
Well, for Tay it is, and for Leida it is. I mean, come on. Now it starts off, Catfish. This will be crazy because I'm going to ask you before you watch the episode and back in season one. In season one, it ends with us seeing that okay, Mon is making this introduction. She's simply really just introducing her daughter to this gangster Davos Skulden's son. A year later, the wedding is happening. Were you shocked that the wedding has happened? Or were you like, yeah, this makes perfect sense. This kid's gotta get married. Mon's
I
gotta
mean,
hide the money.
The only thing that didn't make sense to me was when Mon offered Leida that she could stop the wedding. Because I
Come on.
thought she wanted to get Leida out of there. Because you know what, though, but didn't we think? I mean, Mon is treading dangerous territory here,
Oh,
and I was
yes.
actually more afraid in season one
Hmm.
that Leida would get her ratted out rather than Perrin.
Oh, that's true. That's
So,
true.
and I actually didn't remember that Mon cared that much for Leida. Maybe that was just my assumption because she's so horrible.
Terrible, terrible. Now, hey, it's the biggest wedding in all of Chandrila. Mon and Perrin are there. The gangsters are there. Luthen is there. Hello. Cousin Vel is there. And Luthen's assistant Clea is there. Now, Luthen, boy, Catfish, people may
Hmm.
not know this. You're a professional actor.
Yep.
Luthen has two characters. His why hasn't Cassian given us an update? I'm waiting, I'm angry. And oh, hey guys, look at this awesome artifact I brought. If you had to choose, which Luthen personality would you like at your wedding?
I mean, you definitely want the wheel and dealer and the schmoozer at your
Yeah.
wedding. I mean, that's the way that he is. And, to be honest, he was able to get some real, an amazing wedding gift.
That's 100% true. 100% true. Now, real briefly, I want to mention that this gangster, Davos Skulden, the father of the groom, Stannis Baratheon, Stephen Delane. He's Stannis Baratheon's brother in real life, Richard Delane. Who would you rather be with, Stannis Baratheon from Game of Thrones or gangster Davos Skulden, Catfish? Which one would be more fun to hang with? Probably this gangster, I guess.
The gangster, heck yeah.
Now, I love Perrin. I've grown to love Perrin.
Why?
I was writing our thumbnails in early Andor season 1 episodes, being like,
Hmm.
should Mon have Perrin killed? But I have come around, and Perrin, in talking to Davos Skulden, the gangster, these are the two dads talking, and Perrin's like, Leida won't be easy. Is he tough enough? Oh, wow. Wow. How do you like to hear that about the woman your son's about to marry?
I mean, it's also the understatement of the galaxy.
What? How could you? Oh boy, oh boy. So there's so much going on at this wedding. I loved it. You're mentioning you liked it certainly more than the farm. Luthen, while he's in his wheeling and dealing, happy-go-lucky phrase, he
Yeah.
finds out, oh wait, you're an Imperial officer? Oh, where have you been stationed? What are you doing? I love that. Oh my God.
And listen, he is doing double duty and he's doing it deliciously.
He is. You know what? I could be the life of the party and the death of the party. Hello, Tay.
Oh man. You know what though? Look,
Yeah.
I know this is jumping ahead a bit, but it's so delicious when Luthen at the end is essentially like, we got to get rid of them. There's this has to be taken care of. And
Yep.
Mon says, I don't know what you're saying. And he says, how nice for you.
Oh,
That is so good. That is so good. Because
catfish. Oh,
he's just like, I gotta do dirty work again because you're not gonna get you're like, oh, I protest too much. Tay is so dangerous to them. He's
oh my Lord.
taunting them.
Oh my Lord. First of all, when Luthzen says how nice for you, it's one thing to be stabbed in the back, but being stabbed in the front ain't fun either. But then let's go to Tay. I
Okay.
mentioned that I rewatched the whole first season. Tay
Hmm.
is like a really good guy. He is helping Mon Mothma so much in season 1. And he did get a bit nervous when he's like, wait a minute, what are we talking about here? But he did it. He helped her hide the money. And
Oh.
then he goes through one rough, Trump gets in charge of the tariffs and his stocks go down one time. He goes through one divorce and he's suddenly a
Yeah,
complete
you're
mess.
gonna say you just say, okay, all right. Well, I mean, yes, if you're talking about the complete dissolution of his personal and financial life, yes, okay, it's just that minor
Come
thing that's
on.
happened to him. But I mean,
Yeah.
I thought he had the hots for him, and I'm not the
Oh
only
yeah.
one.
Yeah, no.
Your boy Perrin is
Oh.
outright saying it.
Oh.
And you know what? I just wanted her to say to him once. And again, you know what? I don't even know how you've become Team Perrin because he's still obviously a slick back hair jerk. I wanted
Yeah.
her to say, look, the reason why I'm not sexually interested in you has nothing to do with Tay and
Hey, what?
everything to do with you,
Now,
Perrin.
come on, be nice.
That's what I am being nice.
No, no, no. Now, okay, how about this? Leida, she really hasn't talked much yet in the episodes, and I think it's in at the end of maybe
Thumbs up.
episode one where she's like upset. I think this is when it is. She's like, "Mom, he's a child," meaning the guy she's about to marry. He's a child. He won't hold my hand. I keep trying, and he keeps pushing me away. Like, did you have any thought that maybe Leida would be the one to come to her senses and say, "I'm not going to marry this kid,"
You
or
know, that is a good point. I just and we didn't see it except for well, I mean the part that's where she's showing in the dress, but I think we should have seen a little bit more of her like this is so exciting because now I get away from my parents and start my own life. So I
yeah.
thought that was her thing was it's like I don't need to listen to these jerks anymore.
Let's talk about Vel. We haven't talked about her much. She's cousin Vel to Mon Mothma.
Hmm.
Vel is head over heels in love with Cinta and
Hmm.
committed to the rebellion. But if you had to rank them, it'd be like Vel, I love Cinta. I'm committed to the rebellion. If you ask Cinta, it's like I'm committed to the rebellion. Below that is I love Vel. And
Mm,
what's
mm.
interesting, and Vel and Mon have this
That's
discussion.
beautifully put. Let me just say that. Beautifully put.
Vel and Mon have this discussion where she's like, Cinta's not here. I hear there's work to be done. And Mon says to her, but we have to live to do it, don't we? Who's right here? Is Cinta right? Because this is an evil empire and it's got to come first even before relationships? Or is Mon and Vel right that the reason why we're fighting the evil empire is so we can have these lives and these relationships? So do you come down one way or another on either of these, Catfish?
I just have to be completely honest. And once again, I'm going to use my experience of the last 4 months as a guide and
Oh no,
say,
okay.
you when times are tough, you have to do self-care.
Okay,
Self-care
yeah.
is important, but to other people, it's more important for the future and putting your gratification a little bit lower on the ladder.
Okay. Okay. No, listeners, we've been asking ourselves a lot of questions. We always say, who cares what we think? Give us your opinion. If you're on YouTube, go down in the comments and let us know, is there a right answer to this, the Cinta way or the Mon Mothma way? Let us know on social media at Double PHQ. Now, Catfish, you've been dissing my boy Perrin.
But
Did
let me
you?
just say this before
Yeah.
we go
Oh,
on,
sorry.
since we're always a very respectful podcast.
Of course.
Is that I would take Cinta putting me lower priority than Val putting me higher priority.
Okay. Edit. All right, listen, I'm moving on to my boy parent,
Okay,
who was
move
somehow
on to
I
your
flipped.
horrible.
Catfish, listen to
Yeah.
me. You're not getting a
But
Sagrona Teema from me. I'm not toasting your health at all. Did you not like Perrin's speech at the wedding, the pre-wedding dinner? You know, he's like, pain will find you, but you've got to find in this painful world the pleasure, the gaiety, amusement, joy, joy. Seek out these pleasures. Is Perrin saying this as real advice to Leida? Is he saying it to be like, Mon, you've been you're miserable all the time. Why you wonder why we're not a good couple is because you're always, focused on the pain and not the gaiety. What did you think of my boy Perrin's wedding
I
toast?
I agree that his wedding toast was phenomenal.
Hell
That's just
yeah.
a
Thank you.
great
Thank
that's a
you.
great wedding toast. A great wedding toast from a jerk. Nonetheless, a great wedding toast. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
some weddings, they're like,
Hmm.
you know what? We're having nice floral arrangements.
Yep.
No, they're like, we're gonna have trees.
We're going to drop this branch and step over it. Before
Well,
we
no,
get
but
to,
everybody's just sitting around. There's like
yeah.
trees behind.
Yeah, come on. No, hold
I
on,
love it.
Catfish. Catfish, before we get to some more
Mhm.
Perrin goodness, I want to talk about this.
Oh no.
I want to talk
Mhm.
about Leida's shining moment of evilness. Her mom's coming to her. Her mom's telling her, listen, nothing on
Oh.
the other side of that door matters. You can call this off. You don't have to go through with this. My mom on my wedding day was drunk and I wish she had said this to me. And Leida snaps back, I wish you were drunk. Oh, my Lord, she is terrible.
Mm.
Oh, my Lord, Catfish. Is there anything like we haven't played Who's the Worst yet, but is there anybody in this episode who could defeat Leida at this moment? Oh, I mean,
I mean, in this arc,
in this arc,
uh,
yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be pretty close between Edie and Leda for sure.
Well, Tay is terrible. Let's be honest. Tay is completely terrible too.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
but we don't need to worry about Tay.
We don't. Yeah, Catfish. I do want to point out that you sent me this. We don't like to talk about our thoughts before the podcast, but I'm pretty sure didn't you send me a text message when Leida's wedding was happening, saying, "Speaking of Game of Thrones again, we need a red wedding here." Catfish, I'll make you so mad.
Oh, it's so
Okay, so we
delicious.
get to it in this world that they've set up. I think I know your answer, but is there any way that you don't that Mon could possibly find a way out of it, or is the only way out of this Luthen solution?
Well, luckily, as she said, she doesn't. Luthen says you don't need to worry about it. She's not going to have to worry about it. But yeah, that's the only solution because as Luthen tells her, she keeps saying she's thinking she's in this world, right?
Yeah,
Where she's like, look, she says it like 3 or 4 times, I'll come up with the price. I'll
right.
come up with the price. I'll come up with the price. And Luthen finally says to her, you know what the price is? He's going to squeeze us every time and for the rest of our lives. That's the price. He owns us.
I
So,
yeah.
so Luthen is right.
Okay, I thought you were going to
And
say the price
Tay
is wrong.
is gone.
Oh boy. Now, Catfish, if you haven't
Mhm,
rewatched it for a bit, when
mhm.
you saw Cinta as Tay's drive ride home, did you immediately recognize her, or did it take you a second to realize, oh, goodbye, Tay? Ta
I
ta ta, Tay.
mean, I will just say this. The looks between Vel and her were not very subtle. It was almost like huge wink, huge wink. I just need one of them to go, he gone, he gone.
And then this storyline ends with Mon had mentioned that her mom was drunk at her wedding. Mon gets completely blitzed at Leida's wedding and
I'm
decides
sorry,
to, oh
the
my
end of
Lord.
this was a wedding or was it a rave? Because it felt like a rave.
What's the drunkest you've ever been at a wedding? I've been drunk at some weddings, I'm embarrassed to say. So no
Mm,
comment.
no, I've been very drunk. I've actually been
Open
to very
bars,
too many
open
weddings.
bars are very dangerous for me.
Oh,
So
well,
gotta
if
be
you get an
careful.
open bar, yeah, for sure.
Listeners, what do you think? Are we going to see Leida again? Are we going to see? I mean, we're certainly not going to see Tay again. Where do you want this storyline to go? Is Mon Mothma just? We know she's in Rogue One, so she's not going to meet the Maker like Tay does. But Mon Mothma's in deep doo, man. She is in deep trouble.
She is in trouble. And the only thing I can hope for is as we thin the crowd of toxic men, that Perrin is next.
But dear, all right. Because of that, we're going to a different storyline. We got
Okay.
Andor's antics or the Empire escapades.
Oh, let's go with Andor's antics.
Well, this is how season 2 began. And
Hmm.
this stealing of the TIE Fighter,
Thrilling.
incredible. But before we get to that, let's give it up to this actress, this character, Naya, who is helping Cassian steal the TIE Fighter. And she's trying to be, she's incredibly nervous and she has some very honesty. She's like, yes, I'm betraying the Empire, but, here, theoretically, the people here on this base, I've had fun here. That must sound strange. What did you think of Cassian's pep talk to get her to, just bite the bullet and we're doing this today,
I
Naya?
mean, it is, this is the same thing that we were talking about in the last storyline is do you do you give up your creature comforts for something bigger? And so then he gives her the right pep talk. You're doing it. You're completely ruining your life for people you don't know. Congratulations.
You know what? I want you to come give me that exact same pep talk at my place of work. Very
Okay.
similar. And then, hey, people said, I said, even though I gave those first three episodes of season one 10 out of 10, people have said this show can be slow. And to start off with what I consider a pretty damn great TV, this is a TV
Oh yeah.
action sequence, all hilarious, exciting, mainly because Cassian can't drive stick. This is incredible. Was there a certain moment, or what did you think about the TIE fighter theft, Catfish?
Well, as I said, I think it would have been more exciting is if there was some idea that this was an experimental
Oh,
craft
right. We
and
didn't know that till
and
Cassian learned it. He's like, wait, what? I didn't train on this thing.
right. But he says that much later,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, I mean, it's obvious that he doesn't know what he's getting into, but that would just somehow, they could have dropped that into the exposition a little bit earlier, maybe, without it being too clumsy. But so it was a lot of fun, but also, again, as someone who sometimes, doesn't, agree to erase reality, to see all the damage that was done to that ship and then it is still okay is a little surprising.
Heck yeah. I was asking before sometimes about, did you have a favorite moment? One of mine is this great trooper comes out. He's got, pretty much a rocket launcher on his
Yeah.
shoulder. He misses with the first shot, but then the way he gets taken out, to be honest, Tay should go out that quickly. He should go for kind of a rocket launch because he's there 1 minute. We focus on Cassian pressing the button. He looks up, there's a giant hole, and that dude ain't there. He gone.
No, and I really like it's funny the way he sort of does the perforation of the doors
Yeah.
with a lots of shots. But yes, he makes a lot of incredible escapes in this ship.
Now Cassian goes to drop off the ship. So obviously this is planned ahead of time. Cassian is looking to meet a guy named Porco, and he arrives. And this is a section that I know some people theoretically had some trouble with, and maybe even I did a little bit. But at the start, I was actually laughing about, hey, wait, there are 15 guns trained on you. Don't tell him how many guns are trained on him. So, in some ways, what did you think, Catfish, of these, what can only be called idiots, these rebel wannabe idiots? What did you think of Cassian getting into a group that can't even agree with themselves and soon starts, shooting themselves? What buffoons?
Yeah, I thought that as I had said at the top, it was a little extended the action with them, especially because they're such idiots
Yep.
that I think we could have spent a lot less time with them.
Real quickly, listeners, Tony Gilroy has given an interview, and he thought, after the Cassian steals this TIE fighter, one thing he wanted to do is show that the rebels aren't superheroes. He was like, the rebels have to be human and flawed and everything. And so he kind of created this scene of stealing the TIE fighter. Then he went to a family dinner, and his son and then his niece's husband were at the table, and they were kind of this goofy and this stupid. And that inspired him to write the scene. And guess what? Kind of the two guys fighting, that's Tony Gilroy's son and Tony Gilroy's niece's husband. So he just said, oh boy, I need the rebels to be in some ways incompetent to show their growth theoretically. So I've got these two knuckleheads here at the table. I'm going to write them into the scene. And then he cast them in the scene. And I'll give him this. These guys were idiots. I mean, if you want to show
They
that
were.
if you want to show that not everybody on the rebellion side is Luthen, not everybody on the rebel side is Mon Mothma. You've got great leaders who can kind of think things through. They may be flawed, they may make mistakes, but they're kind of like intelligent mistakes you can make. This is, you've got the gang that couldn't shoot straight. And I did appreciate it for that, even if at times I was ready for the monster in the jungle to eat all
Absolutely.
So I'm not even sure how much more we want to spend on this other than Cassian gets away. He even shoots and kills one to get away because there was one in the TIE fighter when Cassian sneaks
Hmm.
his way back in there. But the big reveal, the drop off point was where Cassian pulls the TIE fighter up and flies away, and you see those temples in the distance, and you're like, wait a minute. This is the fourth moon of Yavin. This is Yavin 4. This is the rebel base in the original Star Wars movie. So, a fun little Easter egg, if you will, a fun little maybe foreshadowing that, okay, right now on Yavin 4, we've got not even the B group of rebels, we've got the F group of rebels. But in theoretically 4 years' time, we're going to have all the rebels here, and they're going to be a better working machine than these knuckleheads.
Well, these knuckleheads are going to be they're going to soon be monster poodoo.
They were called the Pyame something, right? The Pyame Brigade. They're about to be the Poodoo Brigade. Now, we don't talk much about Luthen's assistant, Clea. Early reviews say that she's going to have bigger part in season 2 here, but she's just like a mini Luthen. Cassian gets her on the radio, and Cassian's like, "What's up? I need to call home," and she's like, "You can't call home." And she's like, "Listen, it's very crowded there, meaning the Imperials are there right now. You can't call home." And Cassian kind of keeps being Cassian. The Luthen way, the Clea way, is to be smart, to not have people, go back to the first woman. It's like, I'm not supposed to look at you. That's Luthen's way. Cassian agrees that the rebels got to do it, but he still cares about his people. He still cares about his thought process. I assume in
Hmm.
some ways that maybe, would you say Cassian of Rogue One is more Luthien-esque in that point? Because he does shoot at the very beginning, he shoots somebody right in the back, a rebel. Or is Cassian always going to have that part about, yes, we can do certain things, but we can't, we got to protect our people? Where do you see Cassian going? Or is he always, or not changing over
Well,
this?
I'll just say if you thought he was going back for anybody other than Bix, then you might want to rethink that.
Oh, it's love. Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
Well, how about this? Is Clea right? Is Luthen right in some ways? Don't have these people look at you; they can identify you. Or is Cassian right? Because hell, I've already been in prison once. They know my face. Why not just be me? Could you say Luthen is right?
I will always say Luthen is right, just because I don't want him to A, either look at me, or B, laugh in
That's
either
when
of
you
the
know you're
ways
in
that he
trouble.
laughs,
When
in
you know
either of the
you're in
ways.
trouble when he starts giggling.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to Team Dedril and the Empire. We're not going to have Syril in the
Yes.
first episode at all. Krennic. What do you think of Ben Mendelsohn, the actor Catfish who plays Krennic? He was in Rogue One. Do you like this guy? I remember him being in that HBO Stephen King adaptation where I thought he was really good. What are your thoughts about seeing Orson
He was
Krennic
in the
again?
first time I saw him, he was in an Australian movie called Animal Kingdom, where he was a
Great, right?
super scary dude. He was fabulous in that. I thought he's good in this.
Yeah, he's really given some good chewy dialogue, the tightest of closed circles. It's not you're not going to take notes. You're not going to tell anybody. Your droids won't even know they were here in a bit of time. You are not here. Here we
And
go.
this is fascinating because I'm like, having not remembered, I'm like, what's going on here? Was people selected? But no, this is an entirely new group. And Bubba, I'm just gonna say this.
Say it.
The way he has set this meeting up, this situation, there are one of two possibilities.
Let's
The
hear it.
Emperor's completely behind this, or the Emperor has no knowledge of it. Because he is keeping this secret. He's like, don't tell anybody. So it's possible that the the emperor doesn't know anything and he's keeping it this way. But his plan is to basically hollow out Gorman. I don't know where people are going to get their fancy spider clothes from anymore after they get hollowed out. But he's like, what's the best way to hollow this thing out? Again, after we watch a 3-minute tourism video about how great Gorman is, and let's just say there are some funny bits here. The bits where the two PR guys are like, well, here's the way we're going to play it.
Oh my
They're
God,
like
these
the
idiots.
spiders. They're like the spiders.
Those
They
evil
think they're
bastards.
better. They're da 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 da. And then
Yeah.
they go into their little working groups. Uh
We're gonna have breakout sessions where
Yeah, the breakout session. There's a breakout session at the food table.
buffet, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, the buffet. And then there's a breakout session over by the window,
Hmm.
where Krennic comes up to Dedra.
Mm.
He's like,
Mm.
he's like essentially, yeah, you need to work on your poker face because you already have an idea and you're telling me you don't have shit. And she's like, comes up with a smart idea. You need Gorman rebels you can depend on to do the wrong thing. So that's it. We're gonna have this
Mm.
is gonna be a we're gonna have what would you call this, crisis actors?
Oh yeah, without question, Catfish. I want to go just briefly back to
Mhm.
this meeting is so secret. What is Krennic about? Because of Rogue One, we know he's about the Death Star. But he tells these people it's about, unlimited power. He's like, yeah, the Emperor's initiative to have unlimited energy that we can blow up planets with. I love it. But back to Dedra. She's the one who says, yeah, you want to stomp down on this planet? Have some rebels who you can, you know, give cause for you stomping down. This is horrific. I mean, I'm not a fan of Spider either, but it's pretty much how can we steal all your resources and you just accept it? Whoa.
Right. I mean, the
Whoa.
whole idea is, right, that it's going to be, the story is going to be we're putting down rebels
Yep.
and no one's gonna, and that's how the planet will get destroyed. There will be no talk about the mining that's happening.
No.
It will be all
No.
about that'll be undercover of the attacks. No one will know about the mining.
I love that Dedra is a bit like Syril. Syril was always focused on Andor. I got to get Andor. Here, Dedra, we see, it's been a year. She is still focused on this Axis, who we know as Luthen. She's like, I want to find Axis. And my boy Bartagas, I mean, he's up there with Perrin.
So good.
Double P,
So
so
good. No,
good.
don't you dare put them together because Partagaz,
Oh, man.
he is like bringing the knowledge.
And bring
So
in the
good.
heat. He's like, you've got nowhere in a year. Next time, capture him, then make him, then make him a
Famous.
legend.
That was a
Oh my
great line.
God.
Then make
Oh,
him capture him,
Bartagas is
then
the
make him
best.
famous. So
Oh.
good. And he's like, essentially, you came up empty and you're lucky to be even on this job.
Yep.
And this gig will make you. Don't be dumb.
Mm.
Otherwise, you're gonna end up, she could end up getting her welcome briefing by Cyril.
Oh, I was thinking, Dedra, you got to be careful you don't get a tay-to-tay
Oh,
too soon. All right, speaking of my boy Cyril, Cyril's had two promotions now. He's the guy leading the newbie around. He is living large. He is so full of himself. I love it. He's telling this new guy at the Bureau of Standards, he's like, listen, there's a future here for those who dare. Oh my God, do you not love him, Catfish? Because somebody who does love him is lovely Dedra. Bow, bow, bow. Oh my goodness. Oh, so
mm,
good.
these two disturbing.
Did you like Dedra out of uniform? This is the first time we've ever seen her dressed casually. What do you think of
Well,
Dedra's
no, no.
look?
Well, let me say this. Dedra, people have their work clothes
Yep.
and their work personality, and
Yeah.
then they have their home clothes and their home personality. Dedra has one set of clothes and one personality.
As long as Edie's not there, Cyril looks so happy when it's just the two of them. But when it's like, oh no, she is coming, mother's coming, Cyril looks miserable. Dedra herself, when she's picking out what to wear for Edie, she is, correct me if I'm wrong, she's having to practice how to smile, Catfish. Oh,
Mm,
ooh. And then what do you want to give up for my girl Edie, who says, you look nothing like what I expected. Show me your wonderful home. Cyril's imagination had always fascinated me. She is a mother. She is a 10 out of 10 mother, if you know what I mean. Catfish. Any thoughts about wonderful orange wearing Edie?
She is running him down. I think you
Oh
know what I
yeah.
sent you. I sent you a text. I think I sent you the text and I put it in the notes that I said that Edie was more terrifying than Palpatine.
How could you? Well, Palpatine never gave us Cyril, so is he really that evil? Ow. Oh my God. And then she tells the story. Now let's give it up to Cyril's father. Cyril's father fancied himself an adventurer. It was an expensive delusion, and then he walked off from Edie and Cyril. He made the right choice, right?
And this is when Dedra,
Oh
it
yeah.
would have been curious to see what, again, I'm making notes. Sometimes I miss minor things, but what I missed was Dedra, an unspoken Dedra going, all right, fuck this. Like this is not the way this is going to go,
All right,
right?
we're
So she
ending
just
this
says,
right now.
my
Yeah.
my parents, no, but even before that, before she lays into her, she's like, my parents were criminals. They were arrested when I was 3. So, and then Edie's like, yo, toughen him up. And that's when Cyril is lying in a fetal position on the bed. He literally just walks out the dinner and lays down on the bed. But of course,
Bravely, Catfish,
this is
bravely.
it's an open concept space. So when we see him laying on the bed and then flash back over, we realize he's hearing this whole thing. And so then Dedra lays down the
Oh
law.
yeah.
You can see him twice a week as long as you behave. I'll have
I
him
think it's
call
twice a
you.
month. Yeah. Oh.
Twice a month, yes, twice a month. And she said, I looked at Uncle Harlow's file. You shouldn't really be talking about him. So good.
Oh my
So
God.
good.
All right. So we can predict they're not in Rogue One. They're not in any other Star Wars stories.
Hmm.
Let's have are they going to live? Are they going to die? What's going to happen? You imagine with Cyril, Edie, and Dedra, the power trio. Let's hear it. Are they going to survive the series? What do you think is going to happen?
Mm, mm, mm. No, I think Edie's like a cockroach and she will survive another 40 years.
In the Rise of Skywalker, it's going to be that meme of somehow Edie has returned. I want this, call me crazy. I wanted Brazos to live because he's not in any other movie. So I wanted, why not let him live and then be in other shows? I call me ridiculous. I want Cyril and Dedra to live. They could still be evil. Let them come back in the Mandalorian, 10 years later or whatever. These guys are too much fun. I just love them so much. Listeners, what do you want to hear? What do you want to have happen to Cyril, Dedra, or Edie? Please keep it social media safe when you send us these things that you want to have happen to them. Do you want them to get Tade? Let us know at Double PHQ.
So good. All right, Bubba. Well, we've got a couple more games. We've
Yeah.
finished the recap. We've sat by the fire and shared with you. So of course, now we have to ask each other some important questions, and we want you again to use social media to answer these questions. So every week we have to pick a MVR, Bubba.
Catfish, I'm going to go ahead and name my most valuable rebel, the
Let's hear it.
MVR for these 3 episodes. And it's the rebel who did the most for the cause. And that's Leida. Why Leida, you may be asking yourself.
Yeah, yes, I am.
If she didn't marry this kid, Mon might be exposed for all this money she's blown up. This foundation, sure, we can kill Tay, but the foundation's still there, and Davos Skulden knows something funny's going on. If Leida didn't marry his son, you don't think he's going to tell somebody, hey, they blew my chance to get in high society? Leida took one for the team. R.I.P. Leida.
Wow.
Most valuable
Oh,
rebel. Who you got?
I'm not too worried about
Yeah.
Elena. I think she can handle herself.
Oh, okay.
Mine
Yeah.
is Bix for
Oh,
getting, sometimes you can do all this stuff. Oh, we're gonna steal some money. Oh, I'm gonna steal a ship. Da 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 da. But sometimes being a
yeah.
rebel means getting your hands dirty and bloody. So I'm giving it up to Bix this week for making it personal.
I think Bix did a great job, but she only killed 2 Imperials.
Yes, but she really meant it.
That's true. She did it kind of half-ass it. You're right. So, Bix, that's a good one. Listeners, who do you have from your most valuable rebel this week? Well, Catfish, we also have to have our MVI, most valuable Imperial.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
you got? Who you got?
For embodying
Oh, yes.
all the totalitarian yet humdrum workday knowledge. I'm giving it to Partagaz, who really tells Dedra, listen, you want to get ahead in this world? Do shit that people who have power tell you to do.
Yes, 100%. I love him, but I think somebody helped the Empire even more this episode.
Who was that,
Edie.
Bubba?
Edie. And you're like, well, how exactly did she help the Empire? Well, let me ask you this.
Tell me. It's so funny. I always really need a real explanation from
Well,
you
no,
for
it's
your answers.
obvious.
Oh, okay.
Dedra didn't want to take Gorman. She wanted to stay there on Coruscant and would find Axis. Guess who makes you want to leave Coruscant real quick? Your possible future mother-in-law. She's going to go to Gorman and clean up that calcite. So for helping the Empire in getting Dedra off planet, I'm giving it up to Edie Karn. Hell yes.
Bubba,
Yeah.
somehow your answers are so wrong, but so right.
There you go. Listeners, we do want to hear yours. Go down to the YouTube comments and let us know. What's the next section, Catfish?
It is the Mandolicious Line of the episode. We started doing this with all of them because there were some great one-liners
Yeah.
on the Mandalorian. Bubba,
Yes.
sometimes our listeners want to know, how is this soup made? And the soup is made by sometimes
Yeah.
by me not reviewing the bits that we do on the show
Oh, no.
before watching the
No.
episodes.
No.
So, Bubba, I
Yeah.
completely forgot about the Mandalorian lines of the
Oh,
episodes,
okay.
but I do have two that we mentioned already.
Oh.
And one of them is the funny one we mentioned a few times already, just because it's so amazing. Leida won't be easy. We spent the entire season last year understanding this down to our bones.
It's
And
funny
then
because
the
it's true.
and the badass one was
Yeah.
everything Dedra said to Edie when Syril was in a fetal
He
position.
was heroically bedroom break. Come on. I explained that at the
Bubba,
top.
it was so badass that, like I said to you,
Yeah.
I was more terrified of Edie than I was of Palpatine.
Oh, come
And
on.
then Dedra came off the top ropes on her. So that is incredible.
I'm going to give it
Bubba,
up. I'm
uh-huh.
going to give it up to Cassian, telling that for badass, telling that, new recruit. One of the first things said in all the episodes, you're coming home to yourself. You become more than your fear. I mean, this Cassian should give the halftime pep talk. He did a great job. I'm going to give him my badass Mandolicious line of the episodes.
All right. Well, mine is going to be later. Won't be easy because it's too easy. All right, Bubba.
Yeah.
It's time for the. There's two different ways we label this segment. One is it's the double C,
Double C.
the catfish question, but specifically
Yes.
it's
Andor, what's that secret you're keeping?
what
Ooh.
question do you want answered to the next episode, or
Okay.
what do you need explained to you about this arc? Bubba, let me lay it out for me.
Okay, sure.
Dedril. I need a whole episode on their relationship from the end of season 1 to the beginning of season 2. I need an entire episode. I need to figure out what the psycho dynamic here is because it is definitely psycho.
Come on. For me, I think that's a great question. I guess the question that I have for the next arc, the next 3 episodes that are going to drop, is Mon's childhood friend. Say what you want about Tay, who is terrible in these episodes, but he is her childhood friend. She's just sold her daughter off to a gangster. She's kind of bit her lip when her childhood friend had to die. How long does the true hero of the series, Perrin, have? That's my question. She's dropping allies like flies, I'm saying.
Well, as I said earlier, I hope not long is the answer to that question. All right, Bubba, listen,
Yeah.
this is amazing. Even though we've jumped on this podcast right away, we do have our best segment of the podcast,
right.
which is our feedback.
Heck
So
yeah.
we've got some feedback from these first 3 episodes on Twitter. Sir Weblingworth Brian Squirreltonshire at
It's
Web
easy for you to
Squirrel.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Says the episodes are superb, and the Niamos wedding song is a certified banger of a tune. Can't wait for next week.
What did you think of that rave that ended episode 3 there? That was a good tune. I think you're right, Web Squirrel. Great banger.
That's
sure.
Sir Weblingworth
Oh, yeah.
Brian Squirreltonshire to you.
Heck yeah. Now on Blue Sky, we got this great feedback from a user with the handle Great Laxit. They wrote, my Andor hot take is
That
the typo there, that Ed Kemper had a healthier relationship with his mother than Cyril Karn. Now, Ed Kemper, famous mother murderer here on planet Earth, that's not fair. Come on, Edie and Cyril she raised him as a single mom. Give her some credit. Come on.
Yeah, let's give it to her. And she kept him under her thumb until Cyril lifted Edie's thumb off
Oh, come on.
and lifted Dedra's thumb on.
Cyril was taking a bed break one time.
Our loyal listener, Gen X
Loyal.
Cat Mom at Albad Khans of Blue Sky says 9 out of 10 L's for episodes 1 through 3.
Double L's?
Yeah, loquacious Luthen.
Ooh, amen.
OMG, the joy I had watching him vacillate from his fake persona to his real one.
Would
The
you say,
costumes
Catfish, she says, OMG, the joy. Did you have a lot of joy in that? As long as
I
it's a
did.
distance, it's enjoyable. If you were there, you would not want to see that
Oh,
chick.
it's so good. He loses his smile and it's so good.
Oh, yeah.
Jenna Catmom goes on to say the costumes at the wedding were glorious. Mon dancing like she's at a rave.
Hey.
Same as I said, stumbling, bumbling Tay.
Oh, boy.
Sad. She's sad Dedra put Edie in her place while Cyril's still tailoring. LOL. Brazos. Tear.
Tear.
Yes.
Amen.
We forgot to mention that Cyril
He's looking sharp.
has stepped up his game.
Well, he better get all the Gorman threads while he can, is what I'm saying. Go to Men's Warehouse, Cyril. And finally, another great loyal listener who we love, Link Hogthrob, who's at Link Hogthrob on Blue Sky. They wrote, it's difficult getting back into it after such a long layoff. We didn't really talk about that, but it definitely, if you had that experience, we want to hear from you.
Well, it
man.
was more difficult for me than for you, who've watched a lot of it. So yes,
Yeah.
I did not feel the connections to our farming group that you did.
Now, Link continues, the parallels to our current government are too many to count and a bit depressing.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I have a 1950 style newsreel. I didn't have a 1950 style newsreel on my bingo card. Dateline Gorman, those spiders get to work. Link writes, finally, great reminder of how disorganized a rebellion or counterculture is at times. That's a great point. Those idiots in the jungle, they were very disorganized. And I think that was the one saving grace about those fools. And outside of the fact that the jungle monster is going to have a healthy diet.
Well, there is one thing about a totalitarian government or group.
Boy. Oh,
it's
boy.
very clear not only what the pecking order is,
Oh, yeah.
but what the rules are for stepping out of that pecking order.
100%.
And so this is why rebellions or countercultures can be disorganized, because they're fighting against that kind of very tight paternalistic structure.
Amen. Listeners, we love your feedback. We keep saying how we want to hear from you. Go down in the YouTube comments, give us a comment, tell us your thoughts on these first 3 episodes of season 2, what you want to see in the remaining 9 episodes of season 2. We want to hear from you. If you're not listening on YouTube, you can get our audio podcast and reach out to us on social media at PHQ, Blue Sky, Twitter, Threads, Facebook.com/PHQ. You can email us hello@doublepmedia.com. This is going to be a rush, like a sugar rush of Andor episodes over the next 3 weeks. Wow, Catfish, 3 weeks and it's over. Whoa.
It certainly is. Bubba, now how can people reach out to you personally to tell you that you can, okay, it's okay to lick your wounds after being crushed by me this week?
You can reach me on all social media at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM at Fit and Trim on social media. Catfish, where can people find you?
They can find me at G to the Man, GeeTotheMan at Instagram and Blue Sky. And we will talk to you next week on
Parsec Passion, the perfect husband, giving the perfect toast at a rebellion wedding. Parsec Passion Podcast.
We need him in this show.